Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
The Old Blood. Who are they? What are they? What does this even mean? Why is this even here? Why am I about to shitpost in a thread that threatens my beliefs? Who are they? The Old Blood is a metaphoric term for any individual who happens to carry the DNA of the original species of hominid, which roamed this planet and lived within it before the sudden rapid changes of the more commonly accepted species of human beings. Simply stated, they are the currently living human beings who carry the entire recorded ancestry of the original Earth inhabitants. Do some research and then start to wonder why no studies exist about the fringe hypotheses about the missing links that are being discovered all around the world all the time. What are they? These beings, of which there are many separate races, are the current millennial generation and their children who happen to possess a particularly high concentration of blood quantum levels, which reflect their supposed ancestry. The typically accepted blood quantum is 50% or greater. At this level, their DNA consists of a mostly stable ancestry which happens to originate from somewhere. From any races of man that happen to survive past the last 7 extinction level events. There are more of us than you'd care to think about. What does this even mean? To the normal, average, everyday citizen, absolutely nothing. In fact, this sort of information may anger you or trigger a genetic response, fight or flight, which will lead you to berate, deny, and attack those who display evidence of the more specific genetically inclined. To those of you who feel quite out of place in their society and their rat cages, you already know very well what the purpose of this thread is and what the Old Blood means to you. We exist, and there is nothing you can do about it. I mean, you could try, but you're basically a genetically engineered NPC marked for harvest anyway. Why is this even here? Like your infallible, godlike, undeniable, and otherwise ineffable scientists, we like to hypothesize and experiment. We like to educate the average citizen. Mostly, we like to teach, share, and help to uplift humanity as a whole. Though these values are often suppressed, berated, and criticized as being naive by anyone who thinks more highly of themselves than their community. But we endeavor to enhance equity across all forms of life, not just the alienated or the assimilated. Why am I about to shitpost in a thread that threatens my beliefs? Because we win. There are so many stories that have been lost or hidden along this long walk of ours. So many tales of the old wisdom and medicine. None of these stories are told today out of fear and ignorance. I will try to tell them now if I can. Long before this age of knowing began, there was a boy born into the great chaos and cold of the far north. This boy did not seem particularly special, being quite shy and emotional. He did have a burning curiosity, an unending thirst for wisdom. His grandfathers and his uncles did their best to teach him the old ways. He always did his best to listen. Along the path in the boy's adolescent years, his grandfather grew very ill. Wild as the growing boy was, he knew what this meant. Near the final days of his grandfather's life, he was called in to speak to his grandfather one last time. Listen close to me. I know this is hard for you, but save those tears for your grandmother. Don't you cry for me now. Death is just another part of this crazy journey we must all take. This is not the end for me. I know where I am going. One day you shall meet me there too, but not before you are ready. It is up to you to be strong now. You have to do it, because I can't any longer. I wish it could be anyone else. It has to be you. The boy then begged to know, why me? Why does it have to be me? It's time. I must go. I came to say goodbye to you. I came to give you one last hug and to remind you to be strong. Now get up, go tell your mother, and give this hug to her. She will need it. That would be the exact moment the boy felt his grandfather's spirit leave this place of the living. The boy woke then, went to find his mother, then gave her that hug, telling her that grandfather had said goodbye. She knew already, as grandmother had already sent word. A few months passed along, having buried his grandfather and feeling his heart being broken. again and again since that day. The boy had abandoned hope, not understanding why God would do such a thing to him and his family, not knowing that God had a plan for him yet. The boy had begun to lose his mind. His dreams would grow filled with chaos, and his waking life would grow further from his understanding. The boy spent many years of his adolescence hating God and trying to destroy himself. Upon his 17th summer, his grandmother grew worried, asking an uncle of his to bring him away to see someone who knows about these things. The young man was left with an uncle he did not know he had, in the place where his tribe had come from many winters before. The old man appeared very odd to the young man, but his uncle had warned him before meeting. Don't speak unless spoken to, do as he says, and nothing more. Listen to what he tells you. The young man and his uncle entered the old, strange man's home. They visited for a short while before the young man's uncle said he had to go, that he would be back soon to pick up the young man. After the young man's uncle had left him there, the old man finally began to talk to him. He had a high-pitched voice and laughed almost like a raven would. So, you've been having strange dreams, huh? That is what your uncle tells me and your grandmother. They say they are worried that you are lost. The young man was caught off guard by this question. He had told no one about his dreams, for they were too strange and real to explain. Without waiting for a reply, seeing the look in the young man's eyes, he laughed loud, like a raven would taunt. Yeah, we all have had those dreams before. How strange they are. Let me ask you something, young man. Where do you think we go when we dream? The old man sipped from a glass of tea, a knowing grin, which resembled his own grandfather's upon his face. The old man spoke again without waiting for a reply. That place we go, it feels so much more real than this place, doesn't it? He paused again, reaching down from the table to pet an ancient-looking, blind, deaf yet lively dog he called Buddy, before going on once more, only glancing toward the young man, already knowing that he would see the same confused look from before. Yeah, I wonder, who was it that decided that this place is any more real than that place we go to in our dreams? Who convinced you that this place is any less real than this one that we come back to? It was then that the old man got up, stretched and moved toward the door. Well, best not to think about it too much. Let's go out so that I can show you something. The two of them left the small cabin and went out to the yard where the old man found a saw. He moved toward the edge of his land, where a mighty river bordered it. The old man began to cut tall birch trees down, then into 4-foot sections, being sure to limb them as he busied along. The young man, being raised as he was, did not need to be asked to stack the cut trees neatly in piles at the riverbank, like the old man had stacked them previously. The old man carried on like this for much longer than the young man would think he could. The old man singing and talking to his dog Buddy the entire time, working ahead of the young man in a pace that could hardly be matched. Finally, after what felt like an entire workday, the young man looked back the way they had come. The young man was shocked at what he saw. They had only been cutting and stacking for a few hours, he thought, yet they had managed to cut a path almost 2 miles long from where they had started. The piles sat at least 7 or 8 feet tall. There was no way they had done so much work in such a little time, he thought again. The old man finally huffed, placing his saw down on a large stump as he called out to his old dog Buddy. Yeah, Buddy, Buddy, Buddy. We sure worked hard, huh, Buddy? That's right. Let's go back and have dinner. How's that sound? The old man grabbed his saw and started back toward his cabin, leaving the young man to stand in silence, growing dizzy trying to understand what had just happened. Finally, the old man called back to him. Don't just stand there with that goofy look on your face. It's no use thinking about it too hard, right, Buddy? The old man slowly made his way home, laughing and singing along the way, the young man following behind now, giving himself a headache as he tried to reconcile this dreamlike situation, going so far as to count the piles till he could no longer as they made the trip back toward the cabin. It was now that the boy gave up trying to figure it out. Instead, he went inside, following the old man. He sat across from the old man at a small dining table where he had prepared 2 glasses of tea for them. His little Buddy had sat for a moment before turning and leaving through a small dog door. Then the old man began to talk again. So, figured it out yet? Still think this is just some crazy dream? But you have been awake with me this whole time, right? The old man laughed and hummed for a bit before interrupting the young man's thoughts. It doesn't matter, really. It took me my whole life to figure it out, and it wasn't even worth pondering anyway. Yeah, this place or that place, it's all the same to us in the end. The more time we spend there, the less real this place seems to be. The more we try to hold on to this place, the less real that place feels. In the end, we have to decide for ourselves. Should we keep wondering why, or should we just get to work? It was then that Buddy barked outside before walking right back through the dog door and sitting at the old man's foot, waiting for a pat on the head, just as another young man walked through the door, calling out for the old man. The visitor sat, placing a large bowl of moose soup on the table. "Auntie told me to bring this to you, Uncle. She says she's worried that you never eat." "Oh, let her worry, moose soup. Well, don't mind if I do." The old man laughed and moved to grab 2 bowls, one for each himself and the very exhausted and confused young man. "Hey, I think I remember you. I'm your older cousin. What are you doing out here?" the visitor asked the young man. "Oh, my uncle brought me to help Uncle Larry for the day," replied the young man, still looking lost beyond words. The visitor raised a curious brow and looked back at the busy old man before laughing out loud. "Oh yeah? I'm sure this old man has been working you to death, huh? Isn't that right, Uncle?" The old man returned the laugh as he sat and sipped from his cup before beginning to eat some of the moose soup. "Ooh, yeah, he's a pretty good worker, that one. We cleared about 7 acres since he got here." The visitor laughed again, standing to look out the window when the young man noticed Buddy had left, only to bark outside again as he brought another visitor. This one stayed outside, having brought an offering of moose shins. "Gee, Buddy, you're getting good at that," the visitor said as the small dog came back in, proud of a job well done. This is when the young man finally asked one of his own questions, to the visitor. "Hey, just how old is Buddy anyway? I mean, he is blind and deaf, right? He sure doesn't act it." The visitor laughed and nodded, turning to the old man before replying. "I don't know. He's been around just as long as I have, if not longer. Isn't that right, Uncle?" he said as he bent down to pet Buddy, who seemed happy for the attention. "Yep, Buddy is one old boy, huh?" This made the old man laugh loudly. "Ooh, my Buddy. That's right. He has to be going on 36 years young now. Isn't that right, Buddy? He's my oldest friend, my best buddy." The old man and his visitor laughed at this as if nothing was strange about a dog living so long. This only made the young man that much more confused. He decided to not think about such things so much and began to eat his bowl of moose soup and drink his tea. He finished his meal quickly, as long as his cup of tea before suddenly becoming exhausted. The old man continued to have many visitors, all offering the old man gifts as they came and went. The young man had drifted in and out of sleep, having very strange dreams each time his eyes shut. Dreams of a very wise, very old raven, one that sounded familiar and had a high-pitched voice, with a stuffed dog that brought many people to visit, each bringing a gift for the old raven. Eventually, the young man's uncle had returned, waking him by shaking him. "Hey, let's go. Sorry I was gone so long, I got lost on my way back," said the young man's uncle. They said goodbye. The young man's uncle hugged the old man and offered his farewell as they both left that place. "So, did you help him cut wood? Did you listen to his stories?" asked the young man's uncle, to which he nodded. Later on, the next day, the young man went to a gathering with his uncle, where he saw his grandmother. The young man's grandmother came over to him and hugged him tight, looking worried. "Geez, where have you been? We have been trying to find you all summer." The young man looked surprised, protesting. "No, Grandma, I just saw you this morning at breakfast." The young man's grandmother looked irritated and hugged him tighter. "No, you didn't. We have been trying to find you since the beginning of summer. Hunting season starts this week. It's time to come home." The young man was more confused than ever now, as he watched his grandmother holler at his uncle for being so irresponsible and not telling her where the young man was at. The young man could never make sense of that missing time or his dreams. The strangeness of it all had never left him, though. 13 winters and 12 summers have passed since then. The old man from this story has since passed on, along with the traditional first chief of the young man's tribe. Just a week ago, the one who holds the old stories also passed. There are so few left now, none who know remain, none but one. The young man has grown older now, his dreams ever present. They grow chaotic like the waking realm. The man dreams of times that have yet to come. He dreams of ancient war between good and evil. He has been given many visions of the truth that has broken his heart beyond repair. He has felt the call and heard the voices from beyond. The earth sings to him, a song of sorrow, pain, and of love for her children. He knows there are many others who share his vision, who can feel and hear the call. They hear the sad song from Mother Earth, and they know the truth of true evil. The Almighty above has tasked him with telling of what he was shown, to rekindle the ancient flames within man's spirit perhaps, or to awaken they who continue to sleep. He does not know and does not question. He is of the old blood. They are few, though they are full of medicine and knowing. They become what they need to be when they are needed. They have been among the living for all time, waiting for their chance to earn redemption. Damned are they who failed when called before. Now they claw their way up and out of hell to head the word of the Almighty. They do not care for the spirits of the living, for they are the souls of the ancient. They have returned now to fight for the glorious light. They are the ones that eat those who eat the flesh of the innocent. They are the ones who hunt, as fear itself. They are the worst nightmares of the truly wicked and eternally damned. They shall feast on the hearts of the evil demons that control the living. They were the damned who have been given a second chance to prove themselves for the Almighty. They will not fail this time. Long ago, long before time or written word, there was a small tribe of men who emerged from the earth. They were small in numbers, molded from the red clay of the earth. They ventured out onto the great open lands, finding an abundance of game and many plants to gather. For a time they enjoyed peace and a good simple life. Soon, something else came out from the earth. Something much older. Something wicked. They came out from deep beneath the bountiful lands, having heard the men above as they ventured near their caves. At night, when the sun was at its lowest, these evil things came out from their hollows to hunt the men of clay. By now the simple men, molded from the red clay, had a number of villages along great rivers. While they were still few in number, they had become great hunters. Every few weeks, most of the greatest of their hunters would gather in the village of the mightiest chief. They would prepare for a great hunting party for 3 days and 4 nights. They celebrated while preparing, telling stories and dancing each night, asking the gods for luck before setting out on their hunt. The wicked creatures detested their songs and drums, finally deciding to raid a village above the village of the chiefs. They stole every woman and every child. They killed all the men and all the old. What they left behind was nothing but destruction, and those that they tore to pieces. They only left what they did not eat, taking the rest to hoard in their caves. The next day, some of the women who gathered decided to visit their neighbors. They could smell death long before reaching the village, seeing the black fires over the hill. They did not venture closer. Instead, they hurried back to their own village. They did not reach home before nightfall. When they came to their borders, they could hear the screams and the cries tearing through the darkness. They crawled close, hiding in the brush as they watched all those they loved being ripped to pieces. The evil things took all the children and the women, killing all the able-bodied men and the elders, leaving the pieces of them that they did not devour. The women stayed hidden and quiet in the brush, hoping not to be seen as their village was destroyed. Soon the morning sun began to rise in the sky, which made those demons leave. The women searched the village, finding no one left. They ran as fast as they could down the river. They ran so fast their feet bled and their lungs burned. When they finally reached the village of the chiefs, the great hunting party had already set out. They begged those still in the village to hear their story before falling dead where they stood, exhausted from their journey. Only one among the tribe listened, having had a vision of the creatures in his dream the night before. The young man was not a man yet, so could not join the hunting party. He helped the last of the women find comfort in her dying, promising to find the hunting party and warn them. With the woman's last breath, the young man ran out from the village, as if he were running upon the winds. The elders that saw him off swore the boy was flying as he tore out from the village. The boy tracked the hunting party all that day, finally finding them setting camp that night. Tired and out of breath, the boy ran to the chief, telling the woman's story. The chief did not believe the boy at first. As the sun set soon after, he heard the demons laugh and whistle out from the tall trees around the hunting camp. The boy stood and yelled out into the darkness, "You do not scare me. I know what you are. I will find you. I will kill you in your sleep." The chief pulled the boy back from the edge of the woods, calling the hunters to him. That is when the demons leapt out from the trees. The fire at the heart of the camp grew red and hot, lighting up the woods as the demons and the men fought through the night. Many of the hunters and many of the demons were slain, each losing half of those who hunted. As the sun rose, the demons hissed and yelped, running back to their caves. The great chief, wounded from the battle, called his two greatest hunters to him, ordering them to track the creatures and to leave signs to follow. If they did not return in 2 nights, the chief would form a war party and follow their signs to find them. So they did, running off into the woods to follow the demons, running as if the wind carried them. The 2 great hunters tracked the creatures back to the mouth of a great cave which led into a large mountain. They hid out of sight, beyond the tree line outside of the save, having left their signs. From the mouth of the save they could hear the demons speaking in strange tongues. The smell of death came out and offended the hunters' senses. Both hunters, being tired, slept up in the trees for the morning, knowing the demons would not come out till dark. A few hours before dark, they woke, seeing the demons come and go from the mouth of the cave, as the sun could not reach them. In front of the save they had built a fire, where they cooked the living villages on spikes that grew from the earth. The younger of the 2 grew angry upon hearing the screams and told the other that he would not wait any longer. The older and stronger of them protested, but offered his support if he should attack. The younger said he would wait till they went back into the save to sleep off the drunken stupor which came from eating men's flesh. Sure enough, the demons went back into the cave, looking quite drunk indeed. The younger of the 2 great hunters climbed down from the tree and snuck toward the mouth of the cave, the stronger following close behind. When they entered the cave in silence, they saw some of the demons sleeping in a large opening. Without making a sound, the 2 hunters crept into the place where the creatures slept, slitting their throats in their drunken deep sleep. They managed to kill all they found there before even one could wake. They looked out from the cave and saw the last glimpses of evening light, so they decided to retreat. As they exited the large mouth of the cave, the younger of the 2 stopped and cut out the heart of one of the slain demons. He used the blood to paint his face, then ate the heart whole. Though the stronger of the 2 protested at first, he soon did the same, painting his own face and eating a heart from a demon whole. They left the cave and returned to their trees to wait. While they hid and watched, they began to feel strange, drunk from the blood and flesh of these demons. They felt stronger, faster, and indestructible now. They had both changed into something else, not of man, nor were they demons. As night fell, they heard the demons wake, screaming out in anger as they found their own dead. They cried out into the night, claiming they would rip the very flesh from the bones of men. They left the mouth of the cave in anger, looking for the hunters in the area now, unable to see their painted face among the branches of the trees outside. After a few hours, they gathered at the cave entrance and plotted to raid the hunting party again. There were not as many as before, and the youngest of the hunters suggested that they could take on those that were left. The stronger of the 2 agreed, so they ambushed the demons from the trees. They dropped down, attacking so quickly that none of the demons could do much more than run into the cave, screaming in terror. The 2 men slayed every monster they could find with ease, tearing them into pieces with their bare hands. They slayed all the creatures within the cave, leaving none alive as the morning came. They then left the cave, satisfying their lust for blood finally. They looked at one another, unable to recognize each other now. They were both covered in the blood of the demons. Their teeth had been sharpened on the creature's bones, and their fingers shaped into claws from tearing their scaled flesh. But most strange of all, their eyes were no longer their own. and each of them smiled a twisted smile that did not belong to them. They made their way back toward the chief's hunting party, only to find the newly formed war party heading toward them, following the signs they had left. The two great hunters appeared in front of the war party, startling them with their appearance. The only reason they did not attack the two hunters was because the youngest called out to them in his familiar voice. The chief slowly approached, with his spear drawn, his heart filled with dread as he recognized the wolf pelt vest the men wore, and the necklace given to the older of the two by his own hand. He spoke out to them, asking what had happened, still unsure of their new appearance. They replied, telling their story of their deeds inside the cave. The older of the two told the chief of how the younger had eaten the heart of a demon, as they had eaten the hearts of their people. Thinking it would help them hunt the demons, he ate one as well. He said it changed them into something else. It made killing them easy. He told the chief it made them faster, stronger, and able to see in the darkness of the night. The chief then banished the two hunters, for they were no longer red men of the clay. They had become something strange and different, so they could not return to the tribe, for he was worried that they would eat his people. The youngest of the two grew angry and ran out into the darkness of the woods, putting a curse upon the chief's name as he did. The older and stronger of the two laid down his spear, shed his vest and his gifted necklace. He apologized to the chief for his sin, then took his own life, slitting his throat from ear to ear. Despite the blood, he spoke his final words. "You will see that you were wrong when they come for you again." The hunter laughed and smiled while life left him, and his body fell to the ground, turning to ashes and blowing away into the wind. They could hear him laughing all the while. It wasn't long after then. The leaves of fall had come and gone, and the cold of winter had begun to set in. On a particularly stormy night, the chief dreamed of a great and terrible beast which split the mountain where the cave had been. It came out from the earth with fury and fire, a legion of demons following. Its breath is like fire, with great wings. With one mighty flap, a foul wind swept over the earth, uprooting all the mighty trees, flattening all of the tallest mountains. Its mighty roar called fire from the sky, and all of his people were burned from this earth. The chief woke up with a startle, his wife asking him what he saw. He told her with fear, shaking his voice. He then stood and ran from their tent. He yelled out into the darkness, into the wind. He begged the two hunters to forgive him while dropping to his knees and weeping for his people, saying again and again that he did not know and that he was sorry. In his most desperate hour, the youngest of the two hunters laughed out from a tall tree at the edge of the village. He jumped down, landing in front of the chief, his skin stained still with the demon's blood, his face still twisted into that sinister grin. His teeth are still bloody and sharp. He pointed out to the chief with a clawed finger and spoke. "He told you that you were wrong, that they would come for your people. He did not lie, and now all of you shall die." With these words, the young hunter shed his vest, threw down his spear at the feet of the chief, then slit his own throat from ear to ear with his own claw, laughing and smiling as he fell to the ground as life left his body. His body turned to ash and was blown away on the wind. The laughing echoed all around for a time before the winds rose. Then the chief heard a mighty crack from far away, watching as the mountain split open, and a great and foul beast crawled out. It flapped its wings, a mighty wind spread across the lands, uprooting all the old trees, laying all the mountains flat. Then came the roar from his dream, and fire fell from the heavens. Then all man was burned from the earth. Those who were not burned were eaten by the children of the beast. Some say the beast came because it was angry that the hunters had killed and eaten its children. Others say it was because the chief of those lands did not honor the hunters for saving his people, and instead banished them. Some say it was the curse of the younger of the two great hunters which sealed the fate of those people of that time. No one knows. Far to the north of that place was another tribe, a tribe that was formed of clay in the shape of the great herds of the land there and given life. These were called the Caribou people. They lived a simple and peaceful life with the great herds, ever traveling with the herd. They too encountered the evil which crept out from the caves but hid from them among the caribou for many ages. Eventually they took the form of the men who came to hunt their herds, fighting them off with ferocity. For ages they avoided having too many encounters with other men and demons from beneath the earth, till a new kind of men began to push into their ancient hunting grounds, larger, stronger, and much harder to kill. These ones could not so easily be chased away. These men hunted and ate the caribou people, eating of their flesh as well, till the caribou people could no longer live with their herds and separated from them one particularly long and cold winter. Eventually, many in the tribe resorted to killing and eating their own, rather than starving. This changed them into something else. Much like the demons from below and the taller men, they were evil and had powers so wicked and terrible beyond understanding. Eventually, a great war broke out, splitting the people of the caribou. The ones who refused to eat their own fought with those who did. The war lasted through the long winter, driving them both to the point of extinction. Finally, a powerful medicine man had a dark dream about the men to the south, of the two hunters that ate the hearts of the things that ate their people. He gathered the great war party of the caribou people and shared his vision. He then taught them a song and dance. They held the greatest potlatch that man had ever known, asking the gods for their help and guidance. On the final day of the potlatch, a man-shaped raven appeared before the tribe and spoke out so all could hear him. He told them, in order to carry on, a new tribe would be made. Many new tribes, in fact, that they would all have to change what they were in order to carry on, that only 12 warriors and 1 medicine man from each tribe would be chosen. So 13 men from the last great war party came forward, 12 of the best fighters and hunters and their medicine man who had the vision. Raven shared with them a secret, that they would each have to kill and consume the heart of that which eats of their people's flesh, that this would change them into something else, something neither a demon nor a man. That only through doing this would they be able to keep their people alive. The fighting men had their doubts, but the medicine man reassured them that this would not make them lose their spirits, that they would instead serve the Creator by doing this and make a pact with him for all time. So they agreed, and with a mighty flash and gust of wind, the raven-shaped man and the 13 men vanished right in front of the war party. This scared the chiefs gathered there, but they found their resolve and prepared for the great battle. The 13 men had all been taken to the world beneath their own, a world of giants and strange spirits. Here the raven spoke to each man before sending him off with the wind. He told each man where to find a warrior of the demon tribe before sending them out. Finally, he spoke to the medicine man and told him that he would have to slay a giant with a sharp stick, that he would have to pierce the heart of the giant with the sharp stick, then carve it from the giant's chest with a sharp piece of volcano glass. He would have to eat the giant's hearth while the giant watched, stick and all, before cutting the giant's head off, keeping it alive all the while. He taught the medicine man how to do this and sent him off. Needless to say, all 13 completed their task, as did the 13 chosen from all the other great tribes of the land. The caribou tribe's medicine man suddenly reappeared in front of his fighting men, holding the head of a giant by the hair, holding it high for the rest to see. He was stained with the giant's black blood. The giant's eyes nervously darted over the eyes of the changed men of the tribe, trying to scream though nothing would come from his mouth. The raven-shaped man laughed, spreading his wings to enshroud the men before they were suddenly lifted back up to the world above that dark place. The men appeared in front of the caribou people's great war party as suddenly as they had vanished. The raven-shaped man laughed still, shouting out that they would surely win now as she flew off into the cold wind. The 12 men, all stained in the dark blood of the demons, stood guard around the war party's camp, day and night, never tiring or seeming to grow hungry. For days it seemed they stood in silence. The medicine man sang and danced around the giant's head, which he threw into the bonfire at the center of the camp. He acted wild like a beast, chanting a song unfamiliar to the people. The people grew scared now, unsure of what they should think. Finally, they heard the whistles and calls from the dark woods one night. They knew those that ate the flesh of the people were surrounding them. It was then that the medicine man suddenly pulled a stick from his mouth, which made the giant's head bounce up and out of the fire, still burning itself. The medicine man pointed the sharpened, bloody stick at the trees, sending the giant's head dancing and bouncing toward them. The head lit the woods on fire surrounding the camp. It could be seen still dancing and bouncing around them as it bit the heads off the screaming demons. The silent warriors easily ripped and tore the flesh of any that made it through the wall of flames, drinking their blood and eating their faces and hearts. All at once, across the great northern lands, most of the demons were slain, eaten, and burned, turning them away from the great tribes forever. The great tribes did not banish the changed men. Instead, they let them return to their villages, thanking them for protecting the people. The men would eventually venture out into the wilderness alone at times, returning with wolves which they trained and hunted with. The wolves they tamed would help them to hunt the creatures in their caves during the night and guard the villages in the day. The changed men eventually married and had children, living unnaturally long lives. The medicine men of all the tribes would not marry. Instead, they would pass their powers along to the young ones that became wild from the sons of the strange men. They are the old blood. They are here with us, always. They are watching, always. They hunt, always. I tell these stories trying to show you the truth. I don't expect you to believe them, nor do I ask you to. The young man from the first had spent his whole life thinking he was crazy, asking the Almighty, "Why me?" only to never hear a reply. Well, the call finally came to him. His moment finally arrived. His whole life, he had felt he was here for a reason, that there was something important he must do. Sometimes he thought he had missed his moment. Luckily, it was a moment he couldn't possibly miss. He knows others heard the call. He met some of them in his visions and dreams. They all felt the same way, heard the same call, had visions of their own. He knew that he had been here before but did not know why. When his vision came to him and he heard the call, he knew exactly why he had felt this way. The last time he had the vision, he could not handle it. The truth of the evil he saw in this vision broke him. He took his own life after witnessing the truth. His soul was damned for his weakness, so he had to return. This time he would not be so weak. This time he would be strong, like never before. He would not waste this second chance. He would claw his way out of hell and fight alongside the Almighty no matter what. The old blood is embodied through him. He is the thing that eats the things that eat people. To those with eyes to see, ears to hear, and the patience to know, I am here with you. Feels good to know this story will be saved now.
Must be nice to have so much data about what's going on, fighting demons and the ancient tales of the ancestors. The only info I ever got was church at 7 a.m. Did not give a day of the week, no indications for preparation, no handouts or worksheets, mostly just total silence. In fact, the church thing wasn't even said to me directly. I had to steal it from another conversation that I could overhear.
None of it came without cost, friend, and none of it was understood without study, dedication, and abandoning beliefs. I share the things I share from a place of caring. I have spent my eternities in hell, and only just now found my pathway of lights leading me home. It was never nice. None of it was written. All things I've been taught by my elders were presented cryptically, in riddles even. MITZU once said, "All these things I tell you, you might not understand them now or even tomorrow, but one day, I promise, it will all make sense." Think about it. Have I ever lied to you?
All right, let's say I buy this bullshit. Why are millennials so damned important anyway?
The labeling denotes negative presuppositions, let's say. The most recent generation that is growing into maturation, taking care of the old, raising the new generation. They are only important as far as their role in raising the next human beings who will eventually take up the mantle, as well as shaping the world which this younger generation may inherit. The last generation of the earthbound human beings. While the picture evidence is not specific to the old blood, it is related. Blood quantum of specific ethnic descendants totaling 50% or greater. These individuals carry with them highly specified and extremely detailed DNA databases of ancestry. Simply stated, they carry the old blood within.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check the Odyssey and Rumble pages for separate archives of previous broadcasts.